Giardiniera. If you aren't from Chicago, the name probably sounds like a dangerous weather pattern or like a deadly disease. I'm happy to tell you that it's neither of those things. Giardiniera is a unique Chicago-style condiment made of a bunch of seasoned pickled vegetables, usually stored in oil. It can be mild, it can be hot, it can be whole vegetables, it can be minced into a relish. Giardiniera has many styles. Giardiniera is a crucial piece to any respectable Italian beef. It's really good on pizza, burgers, sandwiches, put a little bit on your toothbrush. Just a quick warning, continue to watch at your own risk, because once you try this stuff, there's really no going back. Let it be known, it's not hard and it's mostly inactive work, but making giardiniera is gonna take you a few days, but nothing good comes free, kid. Carrots, celery, cauliflower, and serrano peppers are the veggies here, but if you want it mild, leave out the peppers and cut up a few more of the other things. These serranos were mega spicy, like touch your on accident and run circles around your apartment spicy. So to chill them out, I'm just removing the membrane and seeds because that's where most of the pepper's heat comes from. With anything super spicy, I work over a piece of parchment to keep my cutting board clean for later use. Classically, the veggies in this are diced small, and this might ruffle some Chicagoan feathers, but I prefer my giardiniera in relish form. If you want to keep your veggies whole, dice them small. If not, go ahead and cut them into larger pieces. Just make sure that all the veggies are around the same size. We need to let these veggies sit in brine, or in other words salty water, to season them, so just pop all the prepared vegetables into a container with a lid and cover the veggies with water just to the top. The veg should not be floating, so don't add too much water here or you could overseason the veggies and dilute their flavor. Take the weight of the vegetables and water in grams, then multiply that number by 0.08. That'll give you the weight that you need to measure out the kosher salt. Add the salt to the water, mix it around some, then use a plate or a bag filled with water to weigh the veg down. Then just leave the whole thing on the counter overnight. The next day, the veg should be saltified and ready to go. Remove the weight from the veggies, then using a strainer or just the lid, drain the brine into a container on a scale. Take the weight of the brine in grams, then divide that by half. This is the number that we need to know to measure out the pickling liquid. Dispose the used brine, then zero out a medium saucepan on the scale. Add half of the recorded brine weight in water and the other half in distilled white vinegar. We aren't going to use any salt here, we already did that. What we will add is some dried thyme, oregano, some chili flake, and whole peeled garlic. Bring that pickling liquid up on medium heat and let it run on a low simmer for about 5 minutes. After that, pour it back into the container with the seasoned drained veggies, mix it around a bit, then let it cool to room temperature. Once cooled, pop the lid on, label it up, then keep it in the fridge for 3 days to marinate and infuse with the vinegar and herb mixture. On day 4, the veggies will have faded slightly in color and they should taste like spicy pickles. Now we just need to strain the pickling liquid from the veggies and pop them back into that container. I mentioned earlier that I prefer giardiniera relish rather than its classic chunky form, and you can totally do this next part with a sharp knife, but for this part of the process, I like to reach for my trusty food processor. Add in half the giardiniera mixture and a bit of green pitted olives. If you don't like olives, you can just leave these out. We're not trying to liquefy things, so a few pulses will get the job done. Just remember, do this in batches. Once you have a nice even mince, transfer all of it to a large bowl while you work on the rest, and once you're done with that, all we need to do now is jar it up and cover it in oil. But the oil that you choose does matter here. Let me explain. On the left, we have giardiniera packed in olive oil, on the right with soybean oil. I won't sit here and play internet scientist, but to summarize, soybean oil is known as a polyunsaturated fat, which, amongst many things, means that it stays fluid during refrigeration. On the other hand, real, minimally processed olive oil is a monosaturated fat. These fats tend to solidify during refrigeration, but will return to a fluid state when left at room temperature for a little while. The flavor from the olive oil is nice, but I prefer giardiniera that's ready to go at an emergency sandwich's notice, so I'm going to use soybean oil today. Grab a resealable jar, fill it with giardiniera, then cover it with oil by a ½ inch or so. Store this stuff in the fridge, and it'll last for a very long time. Congrats, you now have homemade giardiniera. I highly recommend ordering a pizza, making yourself a juicy Italian beef sandwich, or just globbing spoonfuls of the stuff directly into your mouth. Thank you, Emil, for tuning in, and I will see y'all next week. Take it easy.